Steak or sizzle? Which should you be talking about? I'm Jason Seiden of Brandstorm. This is a communication coaching minute. Let's get into it. You've got a product, or maybe a service, but if you have a service, you've probably been looking at the software world going, gee, I wish I had a product, so maybe I have a productized service. So you have a product, you've got aspects of the product that are in development, they're not ready yet, they're really freaking cool, and you really want to talk about them. And so you're looking at your prospect list and you're thinking, well, they're going to buy the steak. They're going to buy what exists today. So maybe I should talk about that. But that might not be exciting enough to cut through the clutter. So maybe I talk about what's in the pipeline. But then that might be too far out in front. It might not be believable. I might set expectations to a point where they're disappointed when we get to the steak. It might be that I get in front of things and I screw up our big splash. I don't know. Which way do I go? There is an answer as to whether or not you should be talking about steak or sizzle. And it depends on who you are in the company. So here's the too long didn't watch. If you're the CEO, you talk about what's coming. If you're in sales, you talk about what exists. That's it. Here's how this works. If you are the CEO, you should be talking about what's coming. You should be talking about your vision for the future. You should be working with your marketing team to figure out what you can share about the pipeline. Because a lot of what's in the pipeline is going to be under wraps. You don't want to share it yet for legal reasons, for marketing reasons, for strategic reasons. You might not want to share it. It might never see the light of day. So by reserving that for the CEO, first of all, it protects the messaging around the pipeline. But more importantly than that, your CEO is the visionary for the company. If your CEO is talking about what exists today, it's really hard to have your salespeople painting a vision of the future when your CEO is saying, look, we're solving today's problem, today's problem, today's problem. Let's pick a crazy example of this. Let's say you're an energy company. You've historically been in fossil fuels. Your CEO can get out there and say, hey, the world is changing. We need to be into renewables. And your salespeople can be saying, listen, as a company, we're moving into renewables. Right now, the world still has the infrastructure for fossil fuels. I'm selling fossil fuels. And one day that's going to change, but today that's where I'm at. Whatever you feel about the industry, that messaging makes sense. Here's what doesn't make sense. The CEO saying, today we have an infrastructure for fossil fuels. That is what we sell. And then the salesperson going, we're working on some really great renewable stuff. It's really awesome. We as a company, we're thinking about renewables. We've got this stuff today, but I want to talk about what's coming. The CEO is setting a much narrower time horizon for solutions in that case. So the salesperson is delivering this message that's out in front of the CEO. It screws things up. One of them is not credible. Either as a buyer, I'm thinking this salesperson is not on script. This is a wild card salesperson. I don't know what they're talking about, but it's not part of the corporate messaging. Where is this coming from? Or I'm thinking the CEO is holding back. But in either case, my level of trust in the company is eroding. So it's really important to get that messaging right, and it's really important for the CEO to be far enough out in front that everybody, not just the salespeople, have space to play inside of this vision. So the CEO is selling the vision. The salesperson is selling today. Now, let's bring it home. Let's look at another example, Amazon. When they started, they were a book company. They were a bookseller, right? So you could imagine a sales force saying, hey, look, we're a bookstore. Jeff Bezos, as the CEO, could go out to investors. He could go out to other groups and he could say, yeah, today bookstore, tomorrow the world, which he did. And a lot of people didn't see what the vision was, but he did, and he could actually say, this is how it's going to work. And he could give as many details as he wanted or hold back, but at least the vision was big enough that when Amazon started adding the toy stores, the electronic stores, the other kinds of outlets, when they started saying, hey, we've developed some really great expertise here around online cloud storage and logistics, and started creating businesses in those areas, it all made sense because Jeff Bezos had painted a vision that had space for all of that. All right, so that's the CEO. The salesperson's got to sell the steak. The salesperson's lining up in a prospect organization with the people who will be using the product. So let's get into the nuts and bolts. Let's talk about what exists. When a salesperson is selling vision, What the salesperson is really doing is selling the CEO, right? In the example I used a minute ago, that salesperson was off script and was competing with a CEO for messaging. But in a software company where maybe some of that vision messaging is happening from the CEO correctly, if a salesperson goes up and matches that, what the salesperson is really doing is selling the vision, selling its vaporware at that point. The salesperson is saying, hey, bet on us as a company. We've got a great leader. He's got this awesome vision. You want to be attached to us. What the salesperson is not doing is selling the product, not selling the company. And if that salesperson is selling the vision alongside the CEO, if they're selling the vaporware, that's not scalable. They're not selling a machine that could then go sell, a million, more widgets. They're putting more pressure on the CEO to deliver. And I've seen this happen where prospects, they'll buy the CEO. That's great. But not every company is going to buy the CEO. Only a handful of them are going to make that bet. And so what happens is the company gets used to selling a vision, selling the CEO. CEO gets used to going in and actually helping close a deal. And then the company runs out of opportunities where that works. And they have no place else to go because they haven't been practicing selling the product. They haven't been failing at selling the product. They haven't been getting feedback on their product. They haven't done the things they need to do to know where do we go next. Do we need to tweak the product? Do we need to change our deck? Do we need to change how we talk about it? Do we need to be entering a different market? Do we need to be talking about a different use case? All of those things get worked out when you sell a product, when you sell the steak, when you are making those calls and sending those emails and you're batting 10%. You're getting a 1 out of 10 response rate or a 1.5 out of 10 response rate, and you're looking at the 8.5, 9 people who are all saying no to you and looking for patterns and why they're saying no, and then making adjustments so that they say yes next time. That only happens when you sell the product. When the salesperson is out there selling the CEO, they're shortcutting that entire process. Yep, we're in this market, we have this great vision, we see the world, and then a handful of companies go, oh, that's really interesting. Okay, yeah, we want to attach to that. But you know what? There's a reason why innovators are different from the majority. The majority of your market are not innovators. The majority of the people that you're trying to sell to don't care about your vision. They care about solving a problem in the here and now. So if you're in sales, sell the product. Even if it hurts, even if you're losing, you're gaining valuable information about what the market cares about, what needs to change in your messaging, how to adapt so that you can sell to most of the people who are buying. So if you're in sales, you sell the steak. If you are the CEO, you sell the sizzle. And then there's going to be a few key roles in marketing, in innovation, in strategy, where there's a blend, where you lean more to the vision side, but you're still attached to the product, right? Maybe it's not the company's vision, it's the product vision. It's the market vision. It's a little bit narrower than where the CEO is. And that's the answer to the question, should you sell the steak or should you sell the sizzle? Again, I'm Jason Seiden. This is Brandstorm. This has been a Communication Coaching Minute. If you like what you see, subscribe, hit the notification bell for the weekly updates, and I'll see you next week.